Excellent. So bienvenue, welcome to the webinar From Youth Informed to Youth-Led Research and Evaluation Processes, Cross-Cultural Insights and Lessons from Senegal and the US. This is the only moment when I think I'm going to switch to French just to make sure that we have everybody on board. Ces webinaires sera livré en anglais et en français, à l'oral et dans les diapositives. Et la traduction sera proposée en temps réel dans les panneaux des sous-titres en bas, en sélectionnant afficher les sous-titres et la petite icône qui a 2 CC dans les coins inférieurs gauche, puis sélectionnant option de traduction pour les sous-titres. Vous pouvez choisir la langue de votre choix. So this webinar will be delivered in English and French. In the oral presentations and the slides, and the translation will be offered in real time in the captions panel that is at the bottom left-hand corner. You can select, there's a small icon that says CC. You can select show closed captions and then translation options for closed captions. You can choose the language that you want the speech translated to. To the presenters, please speak clearly and slowly to facilitate the understanding and the translation. And to the participants, just please indulge us with your patience. We're testing this model and we'll welcome your feedback afterwards. So for those who don't know me, my name is Monica Ruiz Casares. I'm an associate professor in the School of Child and Youth Care at Toronto Metropolitan University in Canada, a member of the board of directors of the American Evaluation Association, and a credential evaluator with the Canadian Evaluation Society. Over the last few years, I've had a great opportunity to take a number of roles with great colleagues at the Youth-Focused Evaluation Topic Interest Group at AEA, and also to go to Dakar and to participate in learning opportunities with the Groupe Thématique Evaluation, Enfance, Jeunesse of AEA-SenEval, and I'm very honored to be moderating the session today. This is the first webinar co-sponsored by AEA and SenEval as part of a newly established partnership agreement that aims to strengthen the ties between our groups and our broader institutions and facilitate interactions with other TIGs, other Groupe Thématique, within the partner organizations and beyond. The collaboration between AEA and SenEval builds on 6 years of exchange and dialogue between the Youth-Focused Evaluation Topic Interest Group at AEA and the Youth and Child Evaluation Theme Group at SenEval. And we're thrilled to have many of our members here and others also joining us today. The session is being recorded. It will be posted on the AEA Youth Focused Evaluation TIG website and the SenEval YouTube channel. The session will last 90 minutes, and this is what the order will follow. We'll first have a few words of introduction from AEA's president, Veronica Olazábal, and SenEval's president, Abdou Aziz Kane. Then we'll have presentations by 3 of our members, Dr. Mamadou Ndiaye, Dr. Julie Poncelet, and Madame Rukia Toukain, followed by a question and answer period. And then we will conclude with a few words from SenEval's Secretary General. So enough talking on my end. I'm going to introduce first our presidents and then pass the floor to each one of them in turn. AEA's president, Veronica Olazábal, is the Chief Impact and Evaluation Officer at BHP Foundation, a major advocate and commissioner of evaluation with ample international evaluation experience and a great supporter of this webinar. Thank you, Veronica, for facilitating access to the platform. She's also an adjunct associate professor at Columbia University School of International and Public Affairs, SIPA.
That's money. Oh, yeah. No.
Oops. May I ask that everybody mute themselves? What? Excellent. Thank you so much. Veronica, do you want to take the floor? Then I'll introduce SenEval's president.
Merci, Monica, and bonjour, bonsoir to everyone here. I'm happy to welcome you all to your session. I, as Monica mentioned, am this year's president of the American Evaluation Association. I'm going to share a few words about our conference, just to acknowledge Monica's service to the American Evaluation Association Board, as well as Tom Archibald, who I saw sneak in. But wanted to make sure that you all saw us as one and the same. We're a team, and actually that connects us to this year's American Evaluation Association events. So before I just say a couple of words, I want to make sure, can everyone see my screen? Fantastic. As Monica mentioned, maybe would be worthwhile to reiterate that that this platform allows us to speak and connect in a couple of different languages. And so if you want to hover over the lower hand corner, there's a closed caption, and you can set the closed captioning so it's translating what I'm saying, because I do not speak French, although my husband is Francophone. Very excited to be sharing with you a little bit about this year's annual conference. It's our first in-person conference in 3 years. It will be taking place November 7th through 12th in New Orleans. And the focus of this session, of the conference session, is reshaping evaluation together. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the conference. Currently, we have about 2,100, so 2,100 people registered for the conference. It's fairly large. It's not as large as the usual before the pandemic events, but it's still a fairly large gathering of evaluators. And the focus has really three dimensions. And it's based on the fact that we're coming out of the space of multiple crises and that are disrupting how we think about evaluation. One of which is really thinking about the social justice, racial equity agenda that we experienced in the US during the pandemic with the murder of a man named George Floyd. And that really raised questions, not just about how we do our work as development practitioners, but also how we evaluate that work, raising interesting questions about our collective responsibility. Another one is focused on the new actors. More and more, we're seeing evaluation being commissioned not just through government, but through other actors, such as private sector, such as impact investors, such as even indigenous communities and civil society organizations, taking ownership not just of using evaluation to hold other actors to account, but actually asking new questions about the ways that we do evaluation. And so that's another focus of this year's conference. And then finally, the the theme around the digital landscape. We're all connecting via WebEx. Often we're connecting via Zoom. And in 2021, we produced trillions of data bytes, basically, that are really surfacing newer questions that have been on the forefront for a number of years, which is, what is our role in the digital landscape, from using digital data to raising new questions about the proliferation of how digital data is being used for decision making. And the three of these areas are coming together to paint a new picture. It's funny because the emojis just keep coming up when I use my hands, to paint a new picture around how we, number one, think about evaluation and reshape it for the future. And then number two, how do we do this together, not in silos? And so across these three areas, two cross themes that are emerging is, number one, how do we listen and integrate feedback into all of our work? And number two, localization. How do we think about evaluation that is more locally led? That not just from where the work gets designed, but where the decisions get made. And so those 3 areas and 2 cross areas come together to surface the issues that we want to be discussing. The last thing that I'll say is that we wanted the conference to be not the only thing that we do together, but really the end cap to a journey. And so what we've done across the year is we've developed and partnered with different organizations to bring to membership, but then also to make it open for all, a series of discussions focus on these thematics. And as you can see on the screen right now, we just had the 4th of our session. We'll be having a session on feedback and evaluation on October 27th. All of these sessions are being recorded, and they're free and open to anyone. And so if you would like access to those conversations, I'll put the WebEx or the link in the chat so that you can access that. There's also, if you can't come all the way to New Orleans, what a wonderful place with such a Francophone history. We are also offering the virtual AEA, a virtual experience. So while the sessions are not being offered in hybrid or virtually, there is the presidential strand that focuses a series of conversation, about 14 to 17 sessions that focus on these particular issues that have been co-created by a group of about 35 people. And that is accessible. I think that there's a cost to it for national participants, but I think international participants can register for it, and there's no cost to it. And so you can follow along in real time if the time zone works for you. With that said, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, but I know Monica has a full agenda, and so I'm going to stop sharing. I hope that was useful, and I welcome any additional conversation or dialogue. Thanks very much. Back to you, Monica.
Thank you, Veronica. Thank you for the welcome. We're going to now give the opportunity to Monsieur Abdou Aziz Kane, the president of the Sénégalaise Evaluation Association, to say a few words. He's a former board member of AFRIA, a consultant and a teacher of evaluation. He has been a key member of the leadership of SenEval since the beginning in 2012, and a great supporter of the partnership with AEA. Monsieur Aziz Kane. Vous êtes silencé. Est-ce que je... Vous êtes encore silencieux. I don't think I can unmute you. You have to unmute yourself. Veronica, can you unmute him maybe?
Yes. Let me know who I'm unmuting.
Abdul Aziz Kane.
Yep. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Let me unmute. Oh, I have unmuted him, but I don't think he's.
Oh,
there he
voilà.
is.
Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect. Go ahead.
Excusez-moi, je suis désolé, I'm sorry. Donc, je vous dis bonjour à tout le monde. Je m'appelle Abdelaziz Kane. Je suis le président de l'Association sénégalaise d'évaluation, SenEval. Je suis heureux de me retrouver dans cette session de partage avec l'Association américaine d'évaluation. Je voudrais dire bonjour à Madame la présidente de l'association, Véronica, et également la secrétaire exécutive qui n'est malheureusement pas avec nous aujourd'hui. Je voudrais également saluer Monica, que nous connaissons et qui a eu à partager avec nous beaucoup de choses dans le cadre sur le intellectuel, et également dire bonjour à toutes les personnes qui sont présentes ici au cours de cette rencontre, et remercier également notre vice-président Jan Hopwood, grâce à qui ces relations avec l'Association américaine d'évaluation sont devenues des relations historiques. Nous avons participé à plusieurs rencontres plusieurs rencontres organisées par l'association et nous avons eu le privilège de voir beaucoup de nos évaluateurs émergents de participer aux réunions annuelles de l'association. Je voudrais citer notamment Safietou Diallo. Je voudrais également citer Mam Aïssatou Mbaye. Et je me réjouis que Mamadou Ndiaye, qui est le co-coordonnateur du groupe thématique, participe à cette session en faisant une présentation. Je voudrais également saluer la présence de Roguiatou Khan, que je félicite. Et alors, cette session elle rentre dans le cadre de relations entre l'association américaine d'évaluation et l'association sénégalaise d'évaluation à travers nos deux groupes thématiques, le groupe d'intérêt thématique sur l'évaluation axée sur la jeunesse de l'association américaine d'évaluation et le groupe thématique évaluation enfance et jeunesse de CENEVAL. Je pense que c'est un partenariat qui est extrêmement intéressant parce qu'il cherche à promouvoir tout ce qui est échange d'expérience pour les deux groupes thématiques. Très important, nous allons saisir l'opportunité de l'expérience et de l'expertise de l'association, ce qui va permettre grâce à des activités de renforcement des capacités, et grâce également à des réflexions telles que celles que nous allons organiser aujourd'hui, et également la pratique de l'engagement des jeunes dans l'évaluation à travers, n'est-ce pas, des activités interculturelles. Et nous espérons que ce partenariat va contribuer de manière générale à définir des activités de renforcement d'un réseau beaucoup plus large, d'un réseau international des jeunes évaluateurs qui vont travailler avec les enfants et également avec les jeunes. C'est le lieu de nous féliciter du partenariat qui existe avec l'Association américaine d'évaluation et Sénégal. Cette activité est le premier jalon du partenariat que nous avons noué et la prochaine rencontre que l'association organise au mois de novembre sera également un autre jalon que nous allons poser. Et je pense que notre co-coordonnateur du groupe thématique, Mamadou Ndiaye, va participer à cette rencontre à travers un certain nombre d'activités qui vont encore confirmer le partenariat entre nos deux associations. Donc, je voudrais donc me réjouir de ce premier jalon que nous avons posé et dire que nous sommes tout à fait disponibles à œuvrer dans le cadre du renforcement de nos relations entre les deux associations et que nous sommes disposés à mettre en pratique les points qui figurent dans l'accord de partenariat entre nos deux organisations. Donc, je voudrais saluer la présence ici de Kim Mahling, de la firme Encompass, avec qui nous allons démarrer un nouveau partenariat dans le cadre des activités de suivi et d'évaluation des projets de l'USAID, mais également saluer la présence de toutes les personnes qui nous ont rejoints et qui vont assister à cette importante prestation. Donc, je voudrais également remercier Madame Julie Poncelet, qui certainement coordonne cette activité. Et nous espérons que les présentations qui vont être faites par Roguiatou Khan et également Elhadji Mamadou Ndiaye et bien sûr Julie Poncelet vont être des moments forts d'échange, n'est-ce pas, sur cette thématique qui concerne tout ce qui est l'implication des jeunes à la conduite des activités, des processus de recherche et d'évaluation par les jeunes et dans une perspective interculturelle et sur la base de leçons que nous allons apprendre et du Sénégal et et des États-Unis. Donc, voilà ce que je voulais dire en introduction sur notre majeur. Donc, je voudrais donc vous remercier de m'avoir donné la parole et souhaiter une excellente session. Je pense que c'est des moments intenses d'échange que nous allons vivre tout à l'heure. Je vous remercie de votre aimable attention. Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup. Merci, Monsieur Sisken. Thank you. And we're going to get started with our presenters. We're going to be taking the questions at the end, but we encourage you to send questions in the chat as we go. We're going to have certainly Monsieur Ian Hopwood, Honorary President of SenEval, key actor in the development of the AEA-SenEval Partnership Agreement, and also members of the youth-focused evaluation take filled in the questions, and we'll try to answer as many as possible at the end. Just a reminder to keep yourselves muted while the presenters are speaking. You can just take a minute, everybody, to check that your microphone... Est-ce que vous pouvez silencer votre micro? Voilà, magnifique. Merci beaucoup. Voilà. For our inaugural AEA-SenEval webinar, we are excited to bring together emerging and experienced evaluators collaborating with youth on program design, on strategic planning and evaluation in Senegal and in the United States of America. They're going to present 3 brief case studies on youth-led processes and reflect on culturally representative and practical strategies to collaborate with you, what they have learned from their collaborations, and some process outcomes. So let me I will introduce one at a time. That will give them time to set up and put the presentation up. Our first presenter is Dr. El Hadji Mamadou Diaye, who's a specialist in project monitoring evaluation, co-coordinator of the thematic group Childhood and Youth Evaluation at SenEval. He's also a teacher researcher in urban geography at l'Université Gaston Berger in Saint-Louis in Senegal. Dr. Ndiaye will use English in the PowerPoint and will make the presentation in French orally. So, Mamadou, the floor is yours. For some reason, some trouble unmuting themselves. I don't know, again, if we're going to need Veronica's help to unmute Mamadou Ndiaye.
I'm here. I unmuted him.
Okay, now, perfect. Excellent. So,
Alors,
Mamadou,
vous m'entendez? Do you hear me?
oui, vous vous entendez, mais on voit... Est-ce que vous pouvez mettre la présentation pour que ça prenne toute la page? Parce que maintenant, on voit les diapos à gauche. La liste
D'accord.
des diapos.
Je reprends.
Oui. C'est aller jusqu'au bas, il y a un petit icône qui a un écran en bas. Oui, juste à côté. Voilà,
Maintenant,
parfait.
ça va?
Oui, ça va. Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup. Donc, pour moi, c'est un très grand plaisir d'être là avec vous. Donc, je m'appelle Mamadou Ndiaye. C'est le nom qu'on a le plus au Sénégal. Au Sénégal, we have many Mamadou, and in the family name also we have many Ndiaye. Donc, this is a real Senegalese name. Je suis co-coordonnateur dans le cadre du groupe thématique centré sur l'enfance et la jeunesse de l'Association sénégalaise d'évaluation. Et c'est sur cette thématique que je vais faire un partage aujourd'hui. Et comme vous l'avez dit aussi, je participe à cette réunion à partir de l'Université de Saint-Louis, où je suis aussi enseignant-chercheur. Donc, je suis à 280 km de Dakar actuellement, dans mon bureau en train de faire cette présentation avec plaisir. Donc, la présentation que je vais faire est intitulée « Participation des adolescents et des jeunes dans un processus de programmation au Sénégal ». Et je vais essayer de l'illustrer avec 3 exemples pris d'ONG différentes et avec des outils spécifiques pour chaque exemple. Je rappelle aussi qu'avant d'être enseignant-chercheur, j'ai travaillé pendant 15 ans dans les ONG avec des ONG comme Endagraph, ONG Intermonde et à plan international où j'étais le directeur du bureau d'évaluation pendant 4 ans et demi. Donc, la présentation que je vais faire sera axée d'abord sur mon expérience en tant que praticien, puis mon expérience en tant que consultant membre de l'association et du bureau, donc de l'association intéressée par l'enfance et la jeunesse. Ma présentation est structurée ainsi qu'il suit. Je vais d'abord un peu introduire avec quelques aspects importants dans une planification impliquant les adolescents et les jeunes. Donc, le mot adolescent et jeune va venir très souvent dans ma présentation. Parce que je vais essayer de présenter un peu des situations où l'idée, c'était d'impliquer, de faire participer les adolescents. Maintenant, les niveaux de participation par rapport à chaque outil, je vais les dire. Mais d'emblée, ce n'est pas pour répondre au titre global de la session, mais le leadership en tant que tel prôné, souhaité de la part des enfants n'est pas encore acquis, si je peux donner un peu un premier avis avant de démarrer. Donc, un processus, l'idée du début à la fin par les adolescents et les jeunes en matière d'évaluation ou de planification ou de recherche au Sénégal, il y a quelques expériences par ici et par là, mais il n'y en a pas beaucoup. Il y a juste quelques tentatives et expériences de faire participer les enfants à différents niveaux. Il y a aussi des tentatives de faire participer les enfants soit dans des processus consultatifs ou des enfants, essayer de les faire participer dans un processus de collaboration ou essayer de les faire participer dans des actions qu'ils mènent eux-mêmes, mais conduites derrière plutôt par des adultes. Et pour illustrer cela, il y a un premier exemple que je vais présenter avec un processus où j'étais co-consultant pour l'UNICEF Sénégal, où c'était la planification stratégique de leur activité sur la prochaine période 2022-2027, sur 5 ans. Donc, comment faire planifier en mettant devant les adolescents et les jeunes, en leur faisant participer à toutes les étapes du processus. Le deuxième exemple de cas que je vais présenter porte sur un outil qui est de plus en plus utilisé, Photo Voice, qui permet de recueillir des informations à partir de l'appareil photographique utilisé par la jeune fille elle-même pour exprimer un peu les causes, par exemple, d'une violence. Je vais revenir un peu. Il y a aussi une autre méthodologie où on utilise la photographie expérimentée toujours avec plan international, mais que je ne présente pas, mais que je ferai aussi dans mes commentaires. Donc, de plus en plus, la photographie est utilisée pour faire participer les jeunes et les adolescents ou pour recueillir leurs besoins quand il s'agit de planifier des activités intéressant les adolescents et les jeunes. Et le troisième exemple d'outil que je vais présenter, il s'appelle The Truth ou bien le moment de vérité, c'est-à-dire donc un outil qui permet de mieux prendre en compte les questions de violence basées sur le genre en essayant de comprendre le comment et le pourquoi il y a eu le moment de vérité, c'est-à-dire le moment de vérité dit ici, le rapport sexuel non voulu. Et après cela, nous allons essayer de montrer un peu quelques forces et quelques faiblesses de la participation des adolescents et des jeunes en matière soit de planification, d'évaluation ou de recherche. Et puis, nous essayons de tirer quelques enseignements, quelques leçons apprises à travers notre expérience avant de conclure. Pour un peu partager le contexte, nous sommes dans un pays où il y a plus de 65% de jeunes. Plus de 65% de jeunes qui, si on essaie de parler comme les Chinois, ce que tu veux faire pour moi, si tu le fais sans moi, tu es en train de me nuire. Ça veut dire que si nous voulons changer un peu le sort de ces adolescents et des jeunes, il faut qu'ils soient impliqués. Donc, on veut les impliquer, mais est-ce qu'on sait comment les impliquer? Un autre aspect introductif, c'est qu'on a des contextes socioculturels différents qui font que parfois nous avons des croyances et des pratiques socioculturelles qui font que la voix, par exemple, de la jeune fille, elle n'est pas entendue. Souvent même, elle se tait, ou des proverbes wolof, wolof c'est l'ethnie dominante ou la langue la plus parlée au Sénégal, qui font que l'enfant ne parle pas devant une personne plus âgée ou ne parle pas devant l'adulte. Donc, nous avons aussi quelques pratiques culturelles, parfois nuisibles à l'enfant, mais qui sont tues et qui ne sont pas exprimées par les enfants et donc non pris en compte dans la planification des projets et programmes, par exemple l'excision. À cela aussi s'ajoute le fait que pendant les recherches ou les enquêtes ou les évaluations, les aspects éthiques ne sont pas toujours pris en compte. Parfois même, on fait signer des fiches de consentement aux enquêtés, aux enfants et aux jeunes, mais ils n'ont pas lu le contenu. Ça veut dire qu'on donne juste une signature. Donc, aspect de sauvegarde, de protection de l'enfant, souvent négligé en matière d'évaluation et de recherche. Et aussi un cadre législatif et réglementaire qui ne décrit pas forcément très clairement ou n'oblige pas à faire participer l'adolescent et le jeune dans les évaluations. Déjà, on est actuellement au Sénégal dans une tendance d'implémentation du suivi évaluation, donc de l'évaluation des politiques publiques à tous les niveaux. Mais est-ce que sur l'enfance seulement, il y a des textes? Donc, effectivement, le Sénégal a souscrit aux grandes conventions mondiales et surtout les droits de l'enfant, article 12 sur la participation des enfants et des jeunes. Mais ce n'est pas suffisamment vulgarisé ni respecté. Et un dernier aspect qui plutôt sera une opportunité, c'est que actuellement, les adolescents, les jeunes ont tous au moins le téléphone, sont intéressés par les réseaux sociaux, utilisent les TIC, et il s'agit d'un canal très faiblement utilisé actuellement en matière de planification ou d'évaluation impliquant les ados et les jeunes. À cela aussi, il faut ajouter quelques aspects qui sont importants. Déjà, il y a la confusion liée à l'âge des interviewés. Donc déjà, moi, je sais que rien que le concept de jeune, parfois, pose problème au Sénégal parce que jeune au Sénégal, c'est par rapport c'est la limite, c'est jusqu'à quel âge? Est-ce qu'on parle des 15 à 24 ans ou est-ce qu'on peut aller jusqu'à 35 ans comme dans les textes de l'Union africaine, entre autres? Ou on voit dans des associations de jeunes où on voit des personnes qui ont 35 ans, 40 ans, 45 ans, ce que j'appelle les jeunes éternels. Et souvent aussi, on a tendance à mettre dans le concept d'enfant, alors que dans le concept d'enfant, les moins de 5 ans n'ont pas les mêmes besoins que les moins de 10 ans, les 10-14 ans n'ont pas les mêmes besoins que les adolescents, entre autres. Donc ça, c'est un élément important aussi dans la planification inclusive impliquant les adolescents et les jeunes à prendre en compte. Un autre aspect aussi assez important, ce sont les aspects d'inclusion, les aspects de discrimination. Donc, nous avons des jeunes de milieu urbain, des jeunes de milieu rural, des jeunes en situation de handicap, des jeunes qui ont opté pour une diversité autre sexuelle, etc., etc. Donc, beaucoup de catégories d'adolescents et de jeunes qu'il faut prendre en compte selon des approches participatives différentes, mais aussi avec des mesures de protection et de sauvegarde différentes, et éviter donc d'aller vers des évaluations standardisées où les aspects d'équité ne sont pas pris en compte, les aspects d'inclusion ou de représentativité, surtout des catégories défavorisées ou minoritaires. Et aussi, il y a aussi la problématique aussi, au-delà des aspects éthiques, des aspects de confidentialité et d'anonymat. surtout quand il s'agit d'évaluations menées par les adolescents et les jeunes eux-mêmes. Maintenant, qu'est-ce qu'on constate par rapport à l'implication des adolescents et des jeunes en matière de planification? Moi, je dirais que on peut bien se poser la question, est-ce qu'ils sont effectivement les leaders ou on les a nommés leaders? Qu'est-ce que je veux dire par là? Est-ce que ça veut dire une évaluation où derrière, il y a des consultants qui donnent toutes les tâches à faire à des adolescents et des jeunes? Est-ce que c'est des évaluations leadées par des adolescents et des jeunes? Est-ce qu'on les laisse de l'élaboration des outils à aux enquêtes de terrain, au rapportage? Est-ce qu'on les laisse prendre le lead à tous les niveaux? Point d'interrogation. Ce qu'on remarque, c'est qu'on a souvent des consultations, soit en présentiel, face-to-face, ou bien des consultations en ligne. Par rapport à la répertoire de consultations face-to-face, les adolescents et jeunes sont souvent considérés soit comme des cibles ou des bénéficiaires des enquêtes, ou ces adolescents et jeunes sont considérés comme des objets d'étude où il y a un phénomène à étudier chez les adolescents et les jeunes, ou aussi ces adolescents et jeunes sont juste des répondants. Donc, on veut vous interviewer pour juste demander. Ou bien, il s'agit d'enquêtes sur une situation où l'adolescent et le jeune est victime et toujours objet d'étude. Parfois, les adolescents et jeunes aussi sont pris comme des enquêteurs ou par rapport à des activités ponctuelles où ils sont animateurs ou rapporteurs d'activités, mais sont-ils réellement des évaluateurs? Ça, c'est le point d'interrogation. Une autre chose aussi, on remarque que par rapport à ces différents moments où on voit l'enquêteur qui intervient, on voit toujours que c'est du classique. C'est des activités de brainstorming, des causeries, des focus group, des activités de co-création où les adolescents sont regroupés pour pouvoir produire. Et en plus, il y a les activités de masse comme des sondages ou des interviews où les adolescents et jeunes sont impliqués, on leur donne des rôles. Maintenant, de la même façon aussi, il y a de plus en plus l'utilisation du digital avec, par exemple, le sondage report de l'UNICEF. De plus en plus aussi, il y a les enquêtes en ligne et qui intéressent les adolescents et les jeunes. De temps à autre, il y a l'organisation de campagnes digitales. Et de plus en plus aussi, un métier qui se développe au Sénégal, c'est le métier d'influenceur, où les jeunes ont des likes, ont même des carrières, se disent maintenant comme profession, je suis influenceur. Pour en arriver à des exemples concrets et précis, le premier exemple que nous présentons, c'est une étude de cas assez inclusive dans le cadre de la planification stratégique de l'UNICEF où, à différents niveaux, les jeunes ont été responsabilisés. Déjà, les jeunes ont été responsabilisés et ont pris le lead sur tout le volet enquête en ligne à travers donc la contractualisation avec des organisations et l'UNICEF, des organisations de jeunes et l'UNICEF. Ça a très bien marché parce que les jeunes ont l'habitude d'envoyer des SMS aux autres jeunes. Ils ont créé des pages Facebook où ils envoient des SMS de rappel et l'enquête en ligne a touché plus de 5000 adolescents et jeunes en moins d'une semaine. Il y a aussi leur inclusion et leur adhésion dans l'organisation des activités de focus group discussion, au nombre de 59 réalisés sur 8 régions différentes. Et les jeunes aussi ont été impliqués dans le choix des thématiques actuellement qui les préoccupent. Et les thématiques actuellement qui les préoccupent, sur lesquelles il y a eu plus de 5000 adolescents et jeunes qui ont été interviewés, portent sur la santé mentale, sur l'éducation à tous les niveaux, portent sur le changement climatique, sur le développement territorial, entre autres. Donc, dans le processus, les jeunes ont identifié les thématiques qui les intéressent et sur lesquelles ils pensent que le prochain quinquennat de l'UNICEF devrait adresser des réponses et des et des solutions. Il y a aussi le fait que les jeunes ont pris le lead par rapport à l'organisation de plusieurs sessions thématiques, des rencontres multi-acteurs où il y avait même des partenaires techniques et financiers, des acteurs de l'État et autres, et ils ont pris le lead dans l'animation de ces activités. Et comme vous l'avez vu sur la dernière image, le rôle de l'UNICEF et des consultants, c'était de veiller à l'assurance qualité. Veiller à l'assurance qualité, c'est-à-dire veiller au respect des normes en matière d'organisation d'activités, veiller à l'effectivité de l'organisation des activités. C'était aussi en contexte de Covid, veiller aussi au respect du port de masques, veiller à ce que les focus group discussion qui étaient animés par les adolescents et les jeunes se tiennent correctement, et veiller aussi à ce que ce soit le plus inclusif possible en intégrant des populations de catégories socio-professionnelles différentes et puis des personnes en situation de handicap, ceux qui vivent en milieu urbain, en milieu rural, des scolarisés, des non scolarisés, des alphabétisés, ceux qui étudient aussi dans les daara ou écoles coraniques. Donc ça, c'est un exemple assez intéressant où il y a eu des outils produits validés par les adolescents et les jeunes, des activités multiples, l'idée par les jeunes sur le terrain. Par contre, ils n'ont pas fait le reporting final, qui a été fait donc par des consultants, moi et une autre membre de l'Association sénégalaise d'évaluation, Nathalie, Anne-Nathalie, que je salue au passage.
Mamadou,
oui.
Est-ce qu'on peut peut-être dans 1 minute, 2 minutes finaliser la présentation?
D'accord, oui, j'accélère. Donc le deuxième cas, c'est un cas où on utilise un outil basé sur le dessin avec 6 images dont, si vous regardez, on commence par l'image numéro 6. L'image numéro 6 montre l'événement tragique qui s'est passé et l'image numéro 1 montre quelles sont les grandes activités qui se sont passées et qui ont malheureusement abouti à un rapport sexuel non protégé. Donc l'histoire de la jeune fille racontée à travers des images et à travers donc, un outil basé sur le dessin. Et après, il s'ensuit un ensemble de discussions permettant de planifier les activités qu'on aurait dû prévoir pour éviter ce type de violence. L'outil suivant, c'est l'outil Photo Voice, qui est un outil où on donne un appareil photo à une jeune fille qui prend des séquences de photos différentes et qui essaye d'expliquer un peu la violence qu'elle a subie et quelles sont les activités à planifier pour éviter ce type de violence. Donc, c'est l'outil Photo Voice que peut-être on aura pour une autre occasion l'occasion et l'opportunité de présenter. Là, je vais sauter. Comme il me reste que 2 minutes, par rapport à cette participation des adolescents et des jeunes, on peut retenir plusieurs points forts et quelques points faibles. Sur les points forts qu'on peut voir en mettant les jeunes au devant de la scène, on voit que ça libère le potentiel des adolescents et des jeunes en tant qu'enquêteurs et ça facilite aussi les échanges entre ados et jeunes. Ça permet d'avoir de très bonnes réponses. Cela aussi facilite la communication entre adolescents et jeunes qui discutent entre eux. Cela renforce aussi l'engagement et la motivation des adolescents et des jeunes et permet de renforcer leur aptitude à pouvoir mener des évaluations, des recherches. On remarque aussi que les outils TIC de façon globale offrent des nouvelles opportunités d'évaluation qui intéressent beaucoup les jeunes et donc c'est un canal qu'il faut explorer davantage. Et cela aussi permet de faire ce qu'on appelle l'effet boule de neige, c'est-à-dire par exemple sur des thématiques très sensibles, le fait de passer par certaines jeunes filles te permet de toucher d'autres. Par exemple, sur les violences, quand tu discutes avec une jeune fille qui subit une violence, facilement, elle te mettra en rapport avec une autre qui a aussi subi les mêmes violences, par exemple. Quelques points faibles identifiés, c'est que toujours, on veut qu'il soit l'idée, mais souvent, il manque d'expérience. Il y a aussi souvent des problèmes dans la qualité des productions écrites, surtout. Un autre souci, c'est les outils qui souvent ne sont pas adaptés. Et il y a aussi un grand problème qui peut être discuté, c'est la gestion des données après les enquêtes et les aspects de confidentialité. Parfois, ils font bien l'activité, mais après la vie continue, ils répondent par exemple des informations confidentielles issues de l'enquête. Et aussi, souvent, ils n'ont pas beaucoup d'occasions pour pouvoir s'exprimer, pour pouvoir se tester en tant qu'évaluateur. Qu'est-ce qu'on apprend comme leçon? C'est que souvent, les évaluateurs sont faiblement capacités et la plupart des commanditaires ne savent pas ce qu'ils veulent. Qu'est-ce que ça veut dire? Les évaluateurs que nous sommes tous sommes très insuffisamment capacités sur comment faire une évaluation centrée sur l'enfance et la jeunesse. Les commanditaires font des évaluations et des termes de référence, mais ne savent pas exactement ce qu'ils veulent. Souvent, nous utilisons des outils standardisés et des mêmes méthodes standardisées pour tous les types d'activités, causerie, focus group, etc. Ce sont les mêmes activités pour toucher toutes les mêmes catégories de cibles. Donc, il nous faut encore innover. Nous constatons aussi qu'il est difficile de respecter les aspects de confidentialité, de genre, de protection des données, surtout quand ce sont les jeunes eux-mêmes qui prennent le lead. Les technologies de l'information et de la communication sont des supports assez fun qui sont faiblement utilisés et qui pourtant peuvent faire bien intéresser les adolescents et les jeunes. Les adolescents et les jeunes sont souvent mis en avant et assurent le rôle de leader. Il leur faut plus d'opportunités et de renforcement de capacités si nous voulons bien faire du youth inform to passer du youth inform to youth lead. C'est une réalité. Et maintenant, pour terminer la présentation, on peut dire que oui, les jeunes peuvent bien diriger des évaluations et des recherches participatives et inclusives, mais cela suppose qu'il y ait plus d'opportunités de renforcer leurs capacités, qu'il y ait plus de partenariats et de cadres pour permettre de le faire, qu'il y ait plus de financement pour faire des évaluations, pour former les adolescents et les jeunes, qu'il y ait aussi plus de publications scientifiques. On fait beaucoup de choses, mais on ne les publie pas, on n'écrit pas. Il faut aussi qu'on donne plus de focus sur le leadership des jeunes, parce que cela pourrait être un grand plus en matière d'évaluation. Donc, Monica, je vous remets la parole. J'espère que je n'ai pas trop débordé. Et comme je l'ai dit à mon entame, c'est un très grand plaisir. Peut-être aussi dire un grand merci à M. Ian Opoud et à tous les membres de l'association sénégalaise et puis ceux de l'association américaine. Merci.
Merci, Mamadou. Thank you very much. We're going to move on to Dr. Julie Poncelet. We will be sharing the presentations later and the recording, as we said earlier. So we're doing our best with the translation, although I see that sometimes it's not the best. So just bear with us as we do that. So let me introduce Dr. Julie Poncelet. Has over 20 years of experience in evaluation and strategic planning work with nonprofits, foundations, and international non-governmental organizations in North America and internationally, focusing on children and youth, education, issues affecting women and girls, and community-based development. She also has taught program evaluation at Columbia University School of International and Public Affairs for over a decade, and advised dozens of student-led international development and policy-oriented capstone workshops in almost 20 countries. She co-founded Action Evaluation Collaborative in 2010 and has been a co-chair of the American Evaluation Youth-Focused Evaluation Topic Interest Group since 2015. Julie, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Just making sure that I'm unmuted. Yes? Yes, perfect. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Bonjour, bon après-midi et bonsoir. My name is Julie Poncelet, and as Monica mentioned, I am an evaluation and strategic learning consultant. I'm just going to jump right in. I'm here to present on a recent project that we did, which I'm entitling Future Ready, a 6-month virtual youth-led, adult-facilitated learning and voice amplifying process in Birmingham, Alabama. Prêt pour le futur, un processus virtuel d'apprentissage et d'amplification de la voix de 6 mois dirigé par les jeunes et avec l'aide des adultes à Birmingham, Alabama. Okay, so I'm going to begin with giving you a quick kind of like project overview and some context. You'll notice that the translation in French is underneath the English text. Unfortunately, it's a little bit small, so I know that you can adjust your view on your own WebEx screen, so I do apologize for that. There is absolutely, I didn't mean anything by the different font sizes. First, the project was facilitated on behalf of NAF, and NAF is an organization that works with communities and leaders in education, business, and a nonprofit to improve student outcomes through what they call NAF academies, which are small learning communities in high schools. And NAF is really focused on ensuring that high school students across the United States are what we call college and career ready. This process is the aim of this process and this collaboration with NAF, and the focus of our project was really to increase youth engagement and youth voice in evaluating and researching their educational experiences. What we did is we developed and piloted a toolkit with one of NAF's schools in Birmingham, Alabama. This was with the Winona High School and specifically with the Academy of Hospitality and Tourism. For those of you who are not familiar, Birmingham is a city of around 210,000 people in central North Birmingham or Alabama, which is in the southeast portion of the United States. Most residents, approximately 68%, identify as Black or African American, and about 22% identify as white. The toolkit relied on what we're referring to as participatory action research. NAF was really eager to support the creation of new spaces within academies for youth-centered approaches to knowledge and power sharing to advance more equitable learning experiences and environments. The toolkit includes how-to guides to meet diverse youth engagement, learning, and experience goals. Just very quickly, for those of you who are not familiar with the term, participatory action research, here specifically Youth Participatory Action Research, or YPAR, is an innovative approach to positive youth and community development based on social justice principles, in which young people are trained to conduct systematic research and evaluation to improve their lives, their communities, in the institutions intended to serve them. Like many projects, ours was planned before the pandemic and had to be adapted in order to align with the realities of the pandemic. So the work was done virtually, and we were only able to work with one school longer term as opposed to multiple schools shorter term. And finally, oops, there we go. We felt it was critical for the young people who participated in this process to receive a stipend. We wanted to ensure that we were creating an equitable environment where young people's voices, contributions, and energy were recognized. Also, adults who were participating in this process were being compensated. So we just wanted to make sure everything was equitable. So next, I'm going to really go over the pilot project process and timeline very, very quickly. Essentially, a lot of work began before August 2020. We prepared some initial materials to kick off the project, such as a literature review, a review of existing YPAR and youth participatory evaluation resources, and we also designed an adult readiness assessment. From August 2020 to about October 2020, what we did is some work with the adult allies at Winona High School, including the principals, educators, and district leaders. We provided them with an overview of the process. We had them complete the adult readiness assessment in order to identify strengths and opportunities and areas for improvements related to youth voice, decision-making, and shared ownership. In addition to myself and my collaborator, Dee Chambliss at NAF, we had 4 core adult allies who participated, 1 who participated in every single meeting, and 3 others who were available as needed. And we had district, community, and business leaders participate in strategic planning and debrief sessions throughout the process. We began the planning process with young people in October of 2020, where we offered them an introductory session into the process and what it meant for young people to evaluate and research issues that were related to their lived experience. We then had the consent process and really started the process in earnest in November of 2020. From November 2020 to April 2021, we met every Wednesday morning on Zoom. We went through this process, which I'll describe in the next slide. And this process was organized around a youth identified issue. This was, again, entirely youth-led, just adult facilitated. The young people chose a particular action, which began in earnest really around February of 2020. And I'll go over kind of the process on another slide. And then we did some evaluation work in April 2021. We concluded the project with presentations to school decision makers, some post-experience evaluation activities. And a year after the process in May of 2022, we had a reunion as well as kind of an opportunity to do a post-ex assessment to see how young people felt about the process and the sustained effects a year after. And we have 2 more slides to go. All right, so project strategies, tools, and activities as evaluators, and very much kind of thinking about the presentation that we just heard where Mamadou was saying, you know, there are a lot of really good things that are happening, but one of the challenges that we find is that the methods, the tools, and the activities may not necessarily always align well with the particular ethics or needs of working with young people, especially young people in leadership or decision-making roles in research and evaluation. So here I'm again representing the process according to just key elements from planning, taking action, and then evaluating and reflecting on what we did, as well as the timeline. Just really quickly, what we did for the planning process was go through an issue identification where young people identified the issue, and the issue that they identified was future readiness, which was a little surprising, but also very exciting for NAF. Again, their entire mission is to make sure that students are future ready for college and careers. And so when they found out that students felt that they weren't future ready as a result of the pandemic and just generally based on their education experience, they were really excited to explore this issue in greater depth. We did root cause analysis using the 5 Y methods. We assessed knowledge gap using the 6 Ws. We developed questions to really guide the action taking process. And then we did some data collection 101, because as I mentioned, young people had decided that the action that they wanted to take was additional research. Very quickly, the action was going through and actually developing data collection tools, going step by step. Again, we facilitated the process, young people did all the work. We used Google Forms to collect survey data from students and teachers. I taught high schoolers how to do thematic analysis and coding using Excel and Google Sheets. All of that was done virtually and through videos. Young people analyzed all of the data, and then we went through a data interpretation, judgment, and recommendation process with young people, and then they presented their findings to the principals, educators, and district leaders. At the bottom here are just some of the other resources that we relied on, from the toolkit with the facilitation guide, pre-existing resources, weekly Zoom meetings, weekly agenda where I would outline what we did last week, what we're doing this week, and what we're doing next week, so that young people really could see the process and the progression in the process. Group text, this was educator-led. Since I was an external person, I did not have the consent or the right to have access to young people's numbers, which in the United States is very highly regulated, especially in an education setting, and rightfully so. One-on-one meetings with students or young people on request if they wanted to talk about issues that they had. Meeting logs. I really wanted young people to do the meeting logs. I ended up doing all the notes. I would share my screen and write all the notes. It was just a lot for them. They spent 6 hours a day on Zoom, 5 days a week going through school. It was just a lot. So we also made heavy use of Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Forms, and Mural. All right, so this is my last slide. Monica, how many minutes do I have? Be honest.
1.
All right. So I will put the link to the presentation in the chat. Everything is interactive and everything has been, for the most part, translated. So what we do here is, this is the young people's reflection on the process a year out. And I've mapped out their feelings and their reactions to the process, from the planning to action to evaluation and reflection. And this is in their voice. So you'll see that they'll say things like, we were uncertain about PAR. They really struggled building trust with their peers because they were from different social groups in school and different grades. They didn't trust adults because they honestly didn't think that adults genuinely cared about them. And so they just had to trust the process. But they loved being able to identify an issue, and this makes my heart sing. As an evaluator and researcher, one of the highlights, and I almost get a tear every time I mention this, was that they learned how to use Excel and Google Sheets to analyze qualitative and quantitative data and loved it. So it is possible to do these things and have young people really enjoy it. Just really quickly, one of the things that they were really disappointed with is adults kind of speaking over them and telling them what to say or how to code switch and how to say things in a way that was more palatable to adults. So young people felt that sometimes their authentic voice and authentic self was not able to shine through. And most importantly, young people said that this was an amazing future readiness experience. They really felt like they were ready for the next step as a result of this learning and voice amplifying process, and that they felt like they had an impact. And the impact is that the school put together a student advisory committee where there are student advisor at each grade, and students are now able to actually lead and make decisions relative to future readiness resources available to everybody in the school, starting at a younger grade, not waiting until students are in the final grade of high school. So I'm going to leave that there, and I'm going to stop sharing. Again, all of the information, it's an interactive, so you can toggle between all of the components of the presentation. I skipped through the last slide. I'm sorry. I just wanted to finish really quickly to make sure Rugi has time. There are resources on the last slide, including 4 videos that we created, access to the toolkit, which has all of the tools, as well as my email address, just in case you have any question. So thank you very much for your time. And I apologize if I spoke too fast. And I will pass it over to Monica and to Rugi. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. That was great. Let me give a little introduction about Rugi while Rugi is sharing her screen. So Rugi Atukan is an educator and emerging evaluator. For the past 5 years, she's been working with adolescent and high school students on building evaluative thinking skills and guiding them through the process of youth-led independent research. With her students, she's also worked on projects for UNICEF and Save the Children, as well as the International Food and Policy Research Institute. She teaches at the Sénégalaise American Bilingual School in Dakar and is a member of the Sénégalaise Evaluation Association. Rugi, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So thank you, Monica, for a lovely introduction. I hope that everyone can see my slides and hear me clearly. Great. So I will be doing my session in English, and hopefully the closed captioning works for French. I'm in Senegal, so if any of you have questions about my research, about my presentation, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. Donc, juste pour clarifier, je vais présenter en anglais. Et pour tous ceux qui sont au Sénégal qui aimeraient bien avoir un échange par rapport à cette présentation en français, n'hésitez pas à me contacter. Voici mon adresse email. Merci beaucoup. So this is a little introduction about who I am. And since I've already been introduced, I will just begin. So the context for this presentation, or the work that I do with high school students in regards to preparing them for evaluation and research, begins with my association with SenEval. When I came back to Senegal to work, I joined the Sénégalaise Evaluation Association, and I also started working with the Sénégalese American Bilingual School, which is based in Dakar, Senegal. So we run a bilingual program, and I teach in the AP Capstone program from College Board. And the AP Capstone program is a really innovative program that uses the Quest framework as a means to get young people, high school students, to really dig deeper and gain skills that'll prepare them for future studies in university or in life in general. So it's based on the framework that allows them to look into questioning and exploring, understanding and analyzing, evaluating from multiple perspectives, being able to synthesize ideas, and being able to work collaboratively in order to transform and transmit information. So this framework is what inspired the work that I've been doing with students here in Senegal. It's in a 2-year process. So in the first year of the course, students really dive deep into real world problems, and they're evaluating those from multiple perspectives. They learn to analyze information and write evidence-based arguments, and they learn to write, to work independently, as well as work collaboratively to solve a problem. In the second year, they learn to really plan, design, and conduct a year-long study with a topic of their choice. This is a way for them to apply research methods and to practice research as a means to addressing a real world problem. And it prepares them for university level work. They have to write a paper that's quite significant, so about 20 pages, and they have to do an oral defense presentation. So this is the framework that really guides the work that I'm doing. But how is this related to evaluation? Well, at the core of the work is really this development of evaluative thinking among these high school students. It ties really well into critical thinking and teaching inquiry, which is gaining more popularity in the United States, and we are adopting that here in our school in Senegal. Evaluative thinking, for those of you who need a refresher, is a cognitive process that's motivated by inquisitiveness and a belief in the value of evidence, which involves identifying assumptions, posing thoughtful questions, being able to pursue deeper understanding through reflection and perspective taking, as well as making informed decisions in preparation for action. So this is the core of the work that we build in that first year of our program. There are different indicators that allow us to know how is this thinking actually occurring, as opposed to it being any other type of thinking or just educating. And these are clearly borrowed from Buckley and Archibald, who might be part of this presentation today. And these are some of the activities that we use to realize it in class. So what makes it relevant to youth-led research? Well, the first thing that makes it relevant to youth-led, or in this case, child-led research, is really the Article 12 in the Convention of the Rights of Children that really reinforce this idea or this notion that children have a right to participate and express their views, and for those to be taken into account seriously. And so involving them in this ability to do research on their own makes them actual agents, and therefore they're realizing the Convention of the Rights of Children. In terms of the ladder of participation, we see that children are often engaged at different levels, and this idea of youth-led research removes them from being tokens or being decorations or being even manipulated to participate in programs. Here we're really moving towards, the higher steps on the ladder where they're youth initiated and directed. So who are these students that I'm talking about? There is a diverse community of students at the Senegalese American Bilingual School. I work with students in our 11th and 12th grade classes. Each class is roughly about 30 students, and I get to work with 16 to 18 who choose to join the AP Capstone program, and I follow them over the course of 2 years. And so what's their breakdown? They are 15 when they start, 15, 16, and they go all the way up until 17, 18 by the time they're graduating. Surprisingly enough, it's about 2/3 girls and 1/3 boys that usually join the class. So we have a majority of female students or female identifying students in the class, and they have come from all over the world. We are an international school in Dakar, so we get students from the US, from Senegal, from Guinea, from Benin, from Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, Iraq, UK, Italy, Togo, Germany, Sudan, Congo, Belgium, Sierra Leone, Nigeria, Central African Republic. And when I say these nationalities, they're not always just citizens from those countries, but oftentimes they have parents from Senegal, and they might have grown up and lived in those countries, and then they come back with all of that diversity. So it really pushes for interesting discussions in class and outside of the class when they're seeing the world with different and new eyes. They are college-bound students, so they're all interested in studying at university, and that's one of the motivating reasons why they joined the program. Most of them are Anglophone or learning English, and they are children whose parents can afford to send them to a private school in Dakar. So in terms of socioeconomic background, that's a little bit about who these students are. How do we build this experience? So this experience is built in the first year through a variety of activities that we do in class. I'll just mention a few that really tie into this idea of evaluative thinking, such as using Socratic seminar for questioning and challenging assumptions. And these are often student-led discussions where they take roles of observing each other and being able to give each other feedback on how well they engaged in the discussion by what they said, but also what wasn't said. They also use cross-curricular connections for multiple perspectives. So here you see them doing a Venn diagram that allows them to connect different aspects of the material that's being covered. We also have them looking at the line of reasoning in order to evaluate evidence and credibility in written articles. So they're really learning to think and read critically and being able to analyze that information so that the text that they get or any source of information that they get is not just taken at face value, but they're able to look deeper into it. And then we do a lot of scenario analysis for real world problems. So how to investigate issues, how to project ourselves into the future for possible scenarios and designing solutions. So this is what we do a lot of in the first year. In the second year, when students get to carry out their own independent topic, well, we guide them, or I guide them through this process where they develop a research proposal. So once they have a topic, and we get the community to give them feedback. So here you have a picture of a student who's giving a poster presentation to students, but also to community members who really are able to help guide and shape how they carry out their research. We explore scholarly and relevant literature to inform and write the paper that they have to at the end of the year. And so they're oftentimes using their computers in order to find information online. And that's going to point me to one of my concluding points. And they are also learning and testing different data collection methods for their analysis. So here you have an example of a student to the left who is guiding a focus group discussion, so learning how to test it out. And then to the right, you have students who are analyzing the information, the data that they got from an interview. So really learning how to do both the data collection and the analysis. Not pictured here are students actually leading some of these sessions themselves and peer teaching how to do it based on the strategies that they've been able to develop. And then they're carrying out their own research with their own design tools. So to the left, you have an example of a student who was doing this in a marketplace, asking questions. And another example was a student who was doing student-centered research and used the computer lab to have other students within the school be able to answer a survey. So these are just some of the ways that they're actually carrying out their own research, and they chose these questions and designed their own tools. And as of one of the ending pictures, you have what their papers look like at the end. So they do end up being able to write papers that really are impressive, well thought out, well written, and hopefully they are able to present the outcome of their research in different forms. So I asked them to do poster presentations to prepare them for future ways of sharing results from their research, as well as multimedia presentations, which aren't captured in the pictures here, but still relevant to the work that we do. And how has it impacted them? And I hope I have enough time to cover this. How much time do I have?
Just a minute. You can wrap up.
Okay.
Thank you, Rory.
Quickly. So the impact, building student capacity in evaluative thinking has enabled them to really be active decision makers and active participants in decision-making spaces within their communities, in the school in particular. It helps to develop a culture of evaluation among adolescents who are always assessing evidence effectiveness and credibility on a daily basis with everything they get on their phones. It allows them to create a value and understanding of evaluations as opposed to a fear of them, especially when they're getting into professional fields. And it opens opportunities for them to carry research and evaluation and builds an interest for this type of work in the future. Here's an example of 6 of my students who in 2018 were recruited by UNICEF and Save the Children to carry a study on hand washing, and Monica had the honor of meeting them. And another example of how students use all the skills that they're gaining in the course to be able to exploit data. And one of the students won second prize in an IFPRI RESAX challenge. And to continue the impact in terms of research, it really allows them to engage in a topic of interest at a young age and equips them with lifelong skills that they can use. It introduces them to the world of research and new fields that they might not have thought of before. It sets them apart academically and makes them stand out in their university applications, which is one of the motivating factors for joining this type of program, and allows them to solve problems, real world problems, and address unresolved issues in their communities. So they're not just talking about it theoretically in class project, but they're actually developing these solutions. And it gives them credibility as well as confidence. And I think this is perhaps the most important point, the confidence as they become experts in their topics of interest. And again, it continues to build interest in careers with aspects of research and evaluation. So this year will be the first year that I have students graduating from university who have participated in the capstone program, and I'm excited to see how their careers shape up. But as graduates of our school entering the academic world, we have students who use these skills in classes. So they're always sending me messages telling me, Ms. Rugi, I'm using everything that we've learned in the capstone, also creating their own businesses and using a lot of the tools that they use to be able to capture information, and creating their own foundations and nonprofit organizations as a means to continue to solve problems in the communities that they see, and having the skills that they need to be able to carry to collect information in an accurate way. So one of the things that I'm working on that I'm putting out there for accountability is starting a journal for young African researchers. So again, a lot of the students that I work with look online for information, and they have a hard time finding research from young Africans just like themselves. There aren't that many avenues for this, and so this is one of the next steps with the program that I am working on. So thank you very much for your attention, and I'll be happy to answer questions during the allotted time.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rugi. That was excellent. So as was to be expected, we're running tight on time. We have a comment on the chat that I'll read, and with a question that I have actually, which works for the 3 presenters. There are many cultural issues, ethical issues to consider in evaluation in different contexts, including, of course, with young people. And Tierno has raised a question in the chat about the relevance and the cultural appropriateness of the methods and the tools. So beyond the adaptation, talking more about, reconsidering the cultural appropriateness of our frameworks. And so I'd like for you to reflect a bit and maybe advise evaluators working with children and youth in similar contexts on ways to ensure more culturally appropriate methods, and also to sustain engagement of a diverse group of young people. So what needs to be done with young people, what needs to be done with adults and with the adult-led institutions and structures to make sure that the methods and the ways in which we engage with young people are culturally appropriate to the settings where we work. Who wants to tackle the question first of our presenters? Just, can you unmute yourselves, maybe? Julie, do you want to go first?
I can go first. So one of the big things I think is a lot of work needs to be done with adults around their readiness to engage young people differently than in these very kind of traditional top-down dynamics, to become deep listeners of young people and not speak over young people or react in certain ways, which is only human. At the end of the day, you know, we're just all human trying to do the best that we can. And so there's just a lot of that work and really trying to, I think a great way is demonstrating these processes as evaluators, as researchers, and bringing in other researchers, evaluators, and educators into that space to demonstrate that there are these processes like youth participatory evaluation, like participatory action research that create these flexible frameworks that are supported by really wonderful strategies that allow young people to take on leadership roles with support of adults if and when needed, as a great learning tool for other adults to do this kind of work and share power, share ownership, and really allow young people to express themselves. So that's just a really quick response to that question.
Thank you, Julie. Ruki or Mamadou, do you want to add anything, or shall I pass on to other questions in the chat? Okay. So a question for Ruki, are students interested in publishing in journals or other publications? Are publishing opportunities even available?
Thank you for the question. So students are, I'm working to build that interest within students. I talk about it every year, and I have a couple of students who are interested in having their research published. Usually when they get the results from their exam submissions, it's during the summer, so they've already graduated by then. But for this first volume, I would like to have a collection of previous students' work, and so work with them to revise and edit and make sure that it's of the quality that they would be comfortable publishing. So there aren't that many opportunities for young researchers to publish in Africa or in Senegal. I am aware of a few journals that target high school students, some that are very science focused, and most of my students end up doing more social science-based research. So looking for those opportunities and looking to create them, most importantly.
That's great. Thank you, Nick, for that question for Ruki. Then we have a question from Tom Winton. I believe the first presenter mentioned using photo voice in their youth-led evaluation activities. Does this tool have features that allow for blurring of faces or environments to protect identities and privacy, particularly in vulnerable topics like gender-based violence? Mamadou, je crois que c'est une question pour vous. I don't know if Mamadou can unmute.
No, I'm here.
Okay.
I think I have one question for me.
Yes.
It's about using
voice.
the voice tool and sauvegarde aspect, and also je vais répondre en français. Donc, ce que je peux dire, hein, c'est qu'avant d'abord toute chose, le photo voice est accompagné d'un ensemble d'outils et il y a la fiche de consentement sur laquelle la personne autorise ou pas à ce qu'on publie la photo. Donc, on parle de consentement éclairé. La personne sait déjà pourquoi vous prenez la photo et puis est-ce que vous allez publier intégralement la photo ou bien vous allez mettre un masque ou bander le visage, parce qu'on n'a pas le droit de publier une photo de quelqu'un sans autorisation. Merci. Je crois que c'est la question qui m'est destinée.
Thank you. I'm cognizant of time and I don't see any other pressing questions. So maybe oh, okay, there's one just coming in, Lexus. I'm interested in the tool you mentioned, Julie, the adult readiness tool. Did you all create that for this project? What sorts of measures did you look at? And was it mainly attitudes, beliefs, or skills?
So great question. We actually looked at whatever adult readiness tools already existed specifically within the context of YPAR and youth participatory evaluation. There isn't a whole lot. Even YPAR and youth participation rubrics for observing the work. There's still a lot of opportunities for us to be supporting these kinds of efforts. So what we did is we organized the questions around the 3 key values or principles, driving values or principles of YPAR, which have to do with shared ownership, that it's action-oriented, and that it's participatory. And then we ask the adults to assess on a number of different elements based on a rubric. Is this happening a lot? Is this not happening a lot? Stressing that in no way is it possible for them to score a 4 on everything. Like that just doesn't exist. And so really encouraging kind of a deeper reflection on where they lie on these different opportunities, beliefs and attitudes, and skills.
Great, thank you, Julie. It's exciting to see the space that we've carved at AEA, at SenEval, and in other spaces to support child and youth participation and evaluation. There's of course space for expanding that space, but also to think critically about the roles that children and young people and also the adults play in, and the organizations play in supporting and engaging young people and in a genuine, non-tokenized ways, but also to pay attention to both the process and the outcomes of the evaluation. So the context, the culture, the relationships and the roles of youth and adults, and the outcomes of youth involvement for individuals and organizations, and not only for the young people. I think that we have a lot to cover in future webinars, and I set the invitation out. There will be other webinars coming up next year and the years to follow as part of the agreement that we have between AEA and SenEval. But before concluding, I'd like to invite SenEval's Secretary General, Ibrahim Abba, who's a manager, a teacher, a developmental professional, to say a few final words. He's shown great interest in the activities of SenEval's Child and Youth Focused Evaluation Theme Group, and we're very happy to have with us to close the session.
Merci beaucoup. C'est un plaisir d'avoir participé à ce webinaire. Je confirme les propos du président concernant l'initiative et le partenariat qui existe entre l'Association américaine d'évaluation et SenEval, et surtout accompagné par notre président d'honneur Yann Ohout, qui a eu à accompagner ce processus. Et cette session a été quand même très enrichissante. Je voudrais saisir l'occasion et féliciter les différents communicants pour la qualité de leur sujet. Le deuxième élément, je pense que c'est un élément de réflexion pour les éléments qui ont été partagés ici. Et je pense à notre responsable de la gestion de connaissances pour avoir un sujet de réflexion sur cette question qui ont été partagés pendant ce webinaire. Le deuxième aspect, c'est aussi le support technique et technologique que nous avons utilisé, parce qu'avec la traduction simultanée, ça nous a permis effectivement un peu de transcender les contraintes linguistiques et de pouvoir être un peu en direct par rapport aux sujets qui sont partagés. Et je pense que c'est un élément de partage sur lequel nous devons travailler au niveau de SenEval pour voir comment consolider effectivement cet outil dans les différentes collaborations que nous devons avoir avec l'Association américaine d'évaluation pour que nous puissions partager davantage cet outil pour capitaliser les différents échanges que nous pouvons avoir. Le troisième élément, le président l'a eu à le mentionner, nous sommes dans un partenariat que nous avons démarré et je pense que cette session est un élément probant de cette collaboration et nous pensons que les autres étapes seront aussi enrichissantes et SenEval a 10 ans en 2012 et nous espérons continuer ce partenariat avec l'Association américaine d'évaluation, surtout dans le processus de la deuxième décennie de SenEval. Je ne voudrais pas abuser de votre temps. Je vous remercie et de votre disponibilité et plein succès pour la suite des activités des deux organisations. Je vous remercie.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. A reminder that we're recording the webinar and we will post it on the websites of the Youth Focused Evaluation TIG and also the SenEval YouTube channel in due time. I want to thank again Rugi, Julie, Mamadou for your presentations all the time, to Ian Hopwood for your support throughout and your energy, and to Anisha Lewis, who couldn't join us today at AEA, but who has also been key in supporting the development of our AEA-SenEval agreement. Thank you to all for participating. I wish you all a great day and we look forward to seeing you in future webinars.